Getting a lot of vehicle noise from Jeff's, I think.
Yeah, we'll be arriving at a destination here shortly. Do you want me to mute, Chief?
Yeah, if it's easy for you to mute and unmute.
Sure, let me give that a try.
It's not horrible on mine, but maybe it is on others. All right, can everybody see my screen here? It says SARP's biannual training.
Yes.
Okay, great. So a little background knowledge for everybody. In June or July, Chris Drumright and I, we rewrote the red, white, and blue search and rescue protocols, or SOGs, I should say. And we did that in conjunction with SFE. And then I started contacting the sheriff, and we started to rewrite the MOU. The MOU is memo of
understanding.
Yeah, between the sheriff and the fire departments. And we got the rescue group involved in that. And I showed them our new SOGs. And they're like, that's great, except for they don't really match our SOGs that have the same sort of stuff. So we re-met in late summer and kind of rewrote our SOGs. I haven't resent them out. I know you guys have seen all the ones that were written in June, because I'm still waiting for the MOU to be finished, just to make sure there's any change. I can reflect any changes that have to happen. But part of that SOG process, we established the need for training. That's always been the process. It just hasn't been done in the last couple of years. That we need a biannual training for search and rescue paramedics. So this is our first biannual training in a little bit. We did some. Who participated in the Dr. Brockmeyer trainings was it last summer or the summer before? So nobody went to those. Those were focused on some vent training and some pain management training in the backcountry. So here we have our biannual training that we're going to do. And that's why Tim's here. I got with Jamie. I was like, hey, we're going to do ours. You know, I'm not going to wait. Dr. Brockmeyer, I was trying to corral her to do one with us. And she's just crazy busy. And she was concerned about having groups together and passing COVID around. So that's where we are. That's how we ended up here today. I told Jamie, Tim, that I was going to do it. And he said, hey, include us and we'll make it a county-wide search and rescue paramedic training. So inside the SOGs, the rescue group has always had this written down.
I like whatever
as
you guys
far as some expected competencies.
I'll help, and you can put me on anything.
And then Tim, Faraj, you might mute. Is that you? But these are expected competencies the rescue group has in us. And so this is what's in our new SOG too. And we don't need to go through them all right now. I'm going to show this slide several times as we go through it. All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a pack and equipment check. And on the red, white, and blue side, I think you guys are all aware we have this cool new pack from Contreras. I don't know, it was a long crossbow, whatever. But it's a cool pack, and it's all outfitted up. I hope you guys have had a good chance to look through it. It now has a shovel, probe, and a probe in it. And the beacon, our new beacon, is back there in that jacket. So if you're going back in the backcountry, you want to grab that jacket. I know it's not ideal to have a one-size-fits-all jacket. It's a size large, which is big on me, but not crazy big. I could layer underneath it. Remember those helmets that are there too. I feel like I skipped one here. But then our NARCS kit too. So right now, Tim, where are your NARCS stored? They're stored at Station 2?
Yeah, there are twos in the lockbox.
Okay. And you still have your pack there at Station 2 that has all your gear in it?
Yeah. And we went to the Osprey
Yep.
last
We have
year, so it's
more
a
of
lot
a
nicer than that
large
Conterra.
backpack tunnel style. Yeah, we went that Conterra. It's got a fold-out front face that really helps with organization, in my opinion, instead of having just a big tube. It does
That's
not carry as much stuff as you're carrying. We do need to make sure we're familiar with that pack. And if you're going to a certain type of call that you need certain type of equipment, you gotta put it into that pack as far as ours goes. And that's kind of how we've always been with
Where do you guys keep yours at?
it's Station 6 in the bay there.
Okay.
Chief,
Yeah.
can I, do we have any long-term plans for our Narcs box to actually be in a fixed location versus
Yes.
on an apparatus?
Yeah. So the Narcs safe that was in the supply room was torn off the wall and sent to our new ambulance. So it should be arriving in Denver next week. And then when we put that in service, we're going to take that 2007 ambulance out of service. And we're going to pull that Narcs box off the 2007 ambulance and hang it back up in the supply room.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that'd be a better resolution to
Yeah,
what we currently have.
The situation we have right now is not ideal. I explored other things, but it really is only going to be a 2-month deal. So we don't need to buy another safe and set up a whole nother process. So yeah, it'll go back into its own safe in the supply room shortly. There's 2 different kinds right here. The bottom one that says first aid kit on it is a soft kit. Then the kit that's up high is the hard kit. SFE has a soft kit. We have a hard kit. I kind of want to talk to you guys about your experience with keeping these warm in the wintertime and how they work. Tim, maybe you can help us with some of your experience of how you're keeping your Narcs kit warm.
So what I do is when I get to Station 2 and grab them, I immediately ahead of time open up I've got a large hot hands and I throw that in there. It regulates it pretty well for most of the time, but as a backup, and I could go to war stories, but I won't, is I also keep handy and the breakable ice heat pack because that gives off a lot more heat for those days when it's below 0.
Right.
And keep them as close to your body as you can because it keeps you warm as too.
Okay.
I had that quandary on me that one year because I had just the hot hands in there and then I put the ice pack in there, or the hot pack, sorry.
Sorry, I walked on you there. So the hot hands didn't keep it warm enough on one call?
I mistakenly had it between the my jacket and the outer and my mid layer, and it was like 30 below, and just the hot hands in there. And I don't know if it was just the positional of the one morphine because all the rest of them stayed okay, but the one morphine froze. I went to inject air and went poof. So just keep it as close to your body is the best thing with the hot hands or with the hand warmer.
And then something else I wrote here is how do we keep our other meds warm? Tim, the meds that are in your pack, they're just kind of in a separate case, correct?
So the majority of our meds we have that big first aid kit, and the majority of our meds are in that kit.
In your
So,
Narcs kit.
And all that. So we're keeping it as just one big. There's the other medications that are out there if we need them, but I usually don't worry about those unless it's a diabetic or something. Kind of meds, the aspirins and that stay out.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, something I forgot about. So in that soft kit, SFE has a Benadryl, an Epi, a Narcan, everything you need kind of to deal with your opiates and benzos, just in case you have an issue giving your medications. It's all right there in the same kit. Something we can consider. And then it all goes inside, especially wintertime. Our system right now has an issue. That pack, that Conterra pack we have, that front pocket opens and the medication organizer can Velcro off, and you can put that somewhere that might stay warmer, but it's pretty big. I guess I'd challenge us. Maybe I'll get with Drum Right, but I'll ask you guys' feedback too on what you think might work better for wintertime medication transport compared to what we have now. Any suggestions, Jeff or Tony?
I wonder, I like what Tim's doing with the hot packs. I wonder if there's a way we could keep the medications in the location that they are and utilize hot pack as infrequently as we go on these. I don't see why using one of the chemical packs wouldn't be warranted. You know, if that's the solution, might be pretty simple.
Yeah, but the medication organizer that we have is, I don't know, it's 10 inches wide and 1.5 feet long, or 1 foot long. Maybe 6 inches wide and 1 foot long.
Right, but
Yeah.
I was suggesting leaving it in its current Velcroed location and then just drop one of the hot packs in there,
Right.
in the medication kit. I don't know if that would work. I don't have it in front of me, but
Okay.
The big hot hands would cover that kit with 2 of them
Okay.
for
I'll
for
write
the
down,
season. And they're cheap, aren't they? Like $4 for like 8 or 10 of them. He left us.
Shlu, how many days?
I have to look, but I think I'm at 220 or 218.
Nice. Right on. Every time I ask you, it seems to get lower and lower.
That's funny that works that way.
And then another thing that we talked about is, so we, in our pack, we also have the big blanket style hot hands. You know, it covers the entire torso. Open that up and stick it in the pack, covering up all that medication, or yeah, really the medications that are in there. That might work too. And then when you get to the patient, you can give the patient that blanket, and hopefully your meds will last on the way out, or we'll open up some hot hands as well.
What's the price point on those big warming blankets?
They're not crazy. I want to say under $30.
Oh, okay.
I thought they were 30 to 40.
Yeah.
So with the number of times that we're running these calls and might have to use these, we could use them, and it's not a cost prohibitive action.
Yeah, nothing that's going to kill us.
Even summertime, putting that on a patient, they've been really helpful.
Yeah. And that's in the main compartment of the bag already. Maybe I'll order a couple more of those just in case. All right. So we got our new shovel. It's going in that front sleeve there. And I was showing Jeff this. We realized it's not really secured very well. It doesn't fall at the bottom, but if you take a header, it could come out the top. Or if you're opening up that compartment and getting into it, it can fall out the top. So I was going to get a little carabiner and clip it in to one of those webbing sites. But it's a pretty slick new shovel. Then we got a probe. The probe, actually, you have to look for. So you should probably be familiar with it before you head out there. You can see it pushes up inside that sleeve, and then the sleeve pulls over and clips. And that's coming out the bottom there. So make sure you know where that is, because it will hide from you.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any flagging on yours? I know we don't on mine, but I have my own pack with flagging, because a lot of times we're going to end up having to do stuff on that besides medical. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
great point. I have that in my harness that I wear, or my, chest radio harness.
Okay.
But that's a great point. As we're heading in, and if you're in that team one, you're kind of expected to be flagging, especially if you're by yourself, or something that's, we shouldn't be going in by ourselves.
I
But if
was
it's
I
something
was
that's,
more along the lines of the avalanche flags
oh, you're talking about like safe route in and probed
in
areas
our
and that stuff.
clues and search areas.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit over our
Okay.
over. That's something you know how to do, and I know Frage, I know you're in that language as well. Um, but yeah, our first aid kit does not have that.
Okay.
But a little bit of flagging to show our route in would be good.
That's all you need.
Yeah. So part of the pack check is to make sure we're familiar with our rigs. You got to flip this picture sideways. It's going the wrong way. Sorry. But I was out at the bus barn, or at the search and rescue barn the other day, and they've changed the locks. And I saw this one, and I thought I was at the wrong door. So I went over to the other door and tried forever to fix it, to open it, and I couldn't get in. Thankfully, Keble came along and was like, "What are you doing? You're at the wrong door." So I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware that they changed the lock on the search and rescue barn to get into the main garage area. So it's just a standard lock. It's still the same combo, 1973. It opens up, and inside there's a button to open up the garage. How long has that been in there, Tim? Is that just how long it's been since I've been over there?
I think that we put that in last year.
No, it has not been a full year. Really? Guess I'm the quality member, huh? Quick refresher about that's Rescue 1. It's the big rig that has all the gear. Just wanted to make sure we're all aware that inside the agreement with the MOU, we have access to all the gear in there as personal gear. So the fire department's not going to buy a ton of gear to outfit us, knowing that Rescue 1 has a lot of it already. Some of the things that it has that you can grab, you can see in that first compartment there are helmets. We did buy 2 helmets last year, Chris did. But there's helmets there just in case you forgot. They're required for any mechanized travel. So ATVs, snowmobiles, on the back of an Orion, just unloading equipment. We need to make sure we're wearing those helmets. There's also a dock of radios there. If for some reason you don't have your radio, you can grab a radio back there. They're the same front channel as we have, except for channel 2 is MRA versus the talk around that we have. And that back compartment there is all the first aid gear. So you got your air splints up high. You got tons of oxygen bottles that are all carbon. That's one thing our pack does not have, is an oxygen bottle. So making sure that they're grabbing O2 is important, or grab it yourself. And then the hypo bags, they're the big blue ones there, the third to the bottom. And their primary kit. The years I've been on the team, I still don't have their primary kit memorized. Mainly because it changes fairly frequently, and it doesn't often go in. They're usually counting on us to bring the first aid gear, so it's important that we know what's in our bag and what we're going to need for the mission.
Jim, what they've done is all the medical trained people, they've kind of gotten kits for everybody. So the only thing I would grab out of there if you needed it was extra IV fluid and the oxygen, because everybody's coming in with basically the same things now. So they've got a little beefed up first aid kits that they carry, 2 packs.
That's a good point. Thank you. So they all have those on their personal gear, huh?
Yes.
All right. So, but bigger things like a SAM splint or a pelvic splint, stuff like that, you want to make sure you're pulling off of here. Or the ambulance that we've arrived on to. That back compartment has the big wheel and all the litters. I'm going to go over some of the wintertime litters here in a minute. Sorry, that's not a great picture. It's sideways, but that's the back passenger side compartment. So that's your rope rescue. There's helmets there you can grab. So if you're doing some high angle rescue things, you can grab those helmets. Here's the compartment above the door, above the wheel on the passenger side. All the snowshoes are kind of slammed up in there right now. Tim, I remember the snowshoes being in that front left compartment. Is that the move? Is that where they are now?
I think so, unless they pulled the water rescue. Normally, they pull the water rescue stuff out for the winter time and put the snowshoes in there, but I haven't been in there in the last couple of weeks, so I don't know what's in there. I'll have to take a look.
Let me go back and look. I don't see water rescue.
Up there above the helmets.
So usually the snowshoes are above the helmets there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the snowshoes might move around on you. Right now they're above the passenger side wheel. But there's a bunch of Rock Pro there too, and Prussics that you can grab just in case if you think you're going to be going in. And we're going to go over a little bit of belay stuff here in a second. Just a quick reminder about trailers. I was going to show you the different trailers that they have. This one takes ramps to pull off the side. It's unless you're a fairly competent ATVer, we should probably be asking for somebody else to pull these off the trailers. The ramp winds up just with the tires, and if you hit it hard, the ramp will fall off. And make sure you're asking for help if we're pulling things off trailers, if we're there that soon and we're doing that. Quick thing on Rescue 3, that's the ambulance that they have. If you need food, this is where you get it. So you've shown up to a mission and you're like, geez, you know, I'm an hour before lunch and I'm going to be out here for a couple of hours. I don't have any food. You can jump in here, and those smoked windows on the left there have, you know, the power bars, the granola bars, waters, Gatorades, things like that that you can grab. This is the Orion set up for summertime. So there's a separate one that I'll show you for wintertime use. Who has everybody had a chance to ride on the back of this? Tim, I know you have. Tony and Jeff, have you guys ridden on the back of this guy?
I have not.
There's a safety issue on this for sure. It's not seat belted. You're kind of banging around back there. Make sure you're wearing your full face mask, helmet. Glasses are always a good idea too. My big thing with this is make sure you communicate with your driver. If they're kind of an accelerator and a braker, it's going to really throw you off. It needs to be a nice, smooth transport. So nice, easy acceleration, nice, easy deceleration, and nice, easy braking. Otherwise, they do give you a good ride. So if you're getting a driver up there that, man, you're just getting thrown forward, thrown back, and you're really feeling like you're holding on tight, I'd call for a stop and talk to him about the importance of a nice, smooth ride. It's an amazing difference when they start to, okay, I forgot somebody's back there and they're just holding on. The platform is actually pretty stable. If you put your feet up against the edges and you kind of grab down low, you can get kind of low. But communicate with your driver about how you need a smooth ride. Tim, will you have any quick experiences to help with training on how to ride in the back of that?
So one of the big things they added this year is the vehicles that tow that on skis and on, or snowmobiles and ATVs, they put rear view mirrors on. So they can actually see what's going on without turning around, which is a big help. They can motion to them. Big things that I threw on there is that you got to be able to be ready to step off on some steep sections when going uphill, or some bad maneuvers, and kind of walk with it and jump back on. Is the only things I on there. Just be like riding your skis, be able to absorb stuff.
Yeah, I have jumped off the back and then pushed and then jumped back on as we're going up something steep or over a rocky something or another. It's not the best thing. If it comes down to it, I prefer to be driving the ATV myself. Hold on a second. This is a quick show of the trailer. So make sure we understand there's different types of trailers that they have. I already said that. But this one has a pin. You can barely see it in the shadow down there. If you pull that pin out, the whole trailer tips up on the wheel. It's important that you know that. If you're standing on the back of the trailer and that pin's out, it's going to move on you. And anything that's not secured is going to move with you. So make sure if you're up on the trailers, you're aware of what type it is and if it's a tipping one or not, and if the pin is in or out. Here's another one that is does not tip. You see there's no pin down there, and they use ramps to get those off. What's cool with search and rescue now, I mean, when I started, their snowmobiles were crap. You could pretty much count on getting stuck on the basic trails trying to get to a rescue. Now they've got some pretty nice snowmobiles. You can see this one's not quite a powder rig, but it's a whole lot better than a two-upper that's 15 years old. You might be expected to drive these this winter. If you arrive fairly quickly to something and you need to get in quickly, and they've got some snowmobiles, they'll give you one and you can cruise in on it. I know you guys have experience with snowmobiles. Jeff and Tony with Ski Patrol. I don't know how much more outside, but they do offer, once we get a little bit more snow out there, a Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon session with snowmobiles. And let's keep an eye out for those. You can do those trainings while on duty as long as we plan ahead with your BC. And you can get out and drive these snowmobiles and be real confident on them during a rescue.
So, Jim, those are our two high-end powder sleds.
Are they?
Yeah, they're 800.
The ones the sheriff shows up with are even bigger high powder sleds, right?
They're about the same size.
Oh, okay. I'm just not seeing them.
Unless you're comfortable on those things, they're going to probably put you on we have the single ups that are a little drop down from that, and then we have the two ups, which are a little drop down from that.
Yeah.
We've got two high-end powder sleds on there, plus the two on
hold the gum out of your mouth for sure. They're fast. When you hit the accelerator, they'll send you out the back if you're not holding on.
They do. I don't know if you guys have gotten invites to it or not. It's hard to get in there, but there's the classes down at South Fork that are a week-long snowmobile class of high-end snowmobiling, and it'll really put you in your place.
Yeah, I don't know if we can justify sending. So
it's Mike Entz down there, and they've been sending about 6 people a season down there to get them trained up.
That's great for us because we've traditionally been pretty poor at snowmobiling, except for a handful of people. But as far as paramedic wise, getting out on a Saturday with a group is probably that's where we should start for sure. If you're interested in doing the week-long program, I'm sure we could figure out how to send you. All right, enough about gear. We got to talk real quick about wilderness survival. This is a competency that we're supposed to have. And, I'm not talking about how to make lean-tos and how to spend multiple nights out in the wilderness, although that's part of the rescue group's training. It really happens extremely infrequently. More of it is, are we bringing the right stuff in the backcountry so that we don't become somebody that needs to be rescued? So these are the 10 essentials that's on the rescue group's webpage. And it has some good things in here for us to take a look at and other things that we don't necessarily need. First of all, is navigation. Are you guys using GPS apps when you're going in the backcountry, Jeff or Tony?
I like the Cotrex app. I use it a lot when I'm dirt biking, and I imagine it would work just as well in anywhere around here.
I haven't used that one. I'm still using a one that, oh, my daughter took my phone from me. A GPS app that's a little outdated, but man, it put the coordinates in something real easy, hit go, and it finds it real fast. The old map and compass, we're not really expected to have a map and compass with us anymore. I know the rescue group would ask me not to say that, but the GPS apps are where it's at. And if you don't have one on your phone, please look into getting one. Tim, do you have the latest that the rescue group's suggesting?
So Ben Lantow is given is the Cal Topo. It's a good one. And you can talk to Lantow about on with that because he worked for him.
CALE?
Go ahead.
Cal Topo, like CAL Topo? Or
Yeah, like California.
okay.
The one I use most of the time is GAIA GPS, Gaia GPS. And of course, with all these, you got to get the paid part of the service to make it even better because it does avalanche. The Cal and Gia both do avalanche modifications there, so it'll tell you if you're going into avalanche scenarios or not.
Right.
The best thing is whatever you're using is just be comfortable with it.
Yeah. So Tony, if you're using something already for your dirt biking, I would keep on using that, but make sure you can put coordinates in it and kind of be able to jump around between coordinate types, just in case you're giving coordinates to flights and they're like, I don't use that coordinate. You can switch it real easy. I know mine has, I'll plug in one coordinate and it shows me two separate types. The coordinates are the big thing. Don't take those for granted. Don't take following the rescue group member for granted. I've certainly done that and wished I hadn't. When you're at the trailhead, get the GPS coordinates of the patient and plug it in your own device. Oftentimes, it comes in handy. Don't just be a follower out there.
Oh, always have a backup because the other night my phone died. Taylor's was giving us weird coordinates and Dan didn't have one. So we were probably cruising around on snowmobiles for an extra hour when it would have only taken us 20 minutes if all things had been working.
Yeah. So even if a rescue group member is, yeah, I'm dialed, I got this GPS, you got yours in your pocket just in case his battery dies or something like that. Signaling wise, I should probably put a whistle on our pack. I don't have that yet. Whistles we use in the rescue group quite a bit when we're trying to search for somebody. We don't necessarily get involved as paramedics in the search until a patient's found, unless we have good intel that the patient's injured. But whistling is a whole lot better than yelling, right? We got a brand new headlamp under Light Source. We got a brand new Black Diamond headlamp in our pack, and SFE, you guys should have one too. Nourishment, we talked about that. If you're a type that knows how to be in the backcountry 3-4 hours and the type of food that you like, I would have that in your kit that you have at the station. Otherwise, when you show up, like I've done before, you show up in Raid Rescue 3, that little ambulance, and you're just getting, granola bars and peanut covered M&Ms and stuff like that. It's not necessarily the best high energy.
Be careful on Rescue 3. It doesn't come on the scene very often.
Yeah. Oops, sorry. do people feel like we should be putting some of that stuff? I mean, we got rehab upstairs at Station 6. Should we put that on our pack down low, or do you guys feel good about your nutrition?
Yeah, Jim, I think it might be a good idea to have just a few things situational dependent. We may not be able to grab our own personal stash, so just to know that we have some calories, should we not bring our own?
Yeah. Anything in particular that you like, or
Chili cheese burritos.
Oh, yeah.
cheese Fritos? That would give you a
No, just the standard stuff that you typically find, you know, Cliff Bars or whatever. Something you could survive on.
Yeah, don't take that stuff for granted. It's not unusual for me to bonk on these things. I usually am pushing pretty hard, and by the time I got the patient halfway out, I'm like, oh man, I'm starting to tire out. Make sure you got that nourishment, and you keep on eating it. Don't wait till you're tired before you open something up. Shelter wise, we don't have a lot in our pack, except for the clothes that we're wearing as shelter. So just make sure you're aware of that. I know SFE, they've got a bivy bag, right? A bivy sack, but it's not in their pack. You got to grab it separately. I'd be talking to your crewmates. I mean, the only time that this could possibly happen to you is if you're getting flown in somewhere, in my opinion. Or injured patient that we know the location of, we don't tend to have a lot of uses of staying out overnight. However, if you get flown in somewhere, weather churns and they can't fly back out, or they've taken the patient out and they've left you out there, you know, if it's a matter of spending the night, they'll probably come back and get you. But if it's a weather blew in, you might get stuck out there. So the helicopter does have stuff to spend the night out there. You can ask them to borrow some of that stuff, or make sure we're aware you're communicating with the IC on your shelter needs. You got anything about that, Tim, in your history there?
Yeah, if you can just have the warm clothes with you that you would take and have room in your pack for it, and then, you know, some kind of bivy is usually sufficient enough to spend the night. You're not going to be comfortable, but you're going to be able to get right out to nighttime. That's all.
Knowing how to build a trench, snow fort would be good. And we do have a small bivy bag, those little reflective foil things. I've never had to sleep in one of those. Tim, have you ever slept in one of those?
Yeah, they're not bad. I have on my personal one, I have the manufactured one from I think it's Black Diamond called the Alien that really works well. Or there's a couple other out there, but the SOS one, that's a double. Don't get the single because there's not a lot of room in there. Having a little bit of room in there to turn around and do stuff is kind of key. So if it was going to get the space blanket one, I have a double one that I put in the SARP pack, and they're not expensive.
I'll look into something like that.
Back up the size of your hand.
But the key is you need a down jacket with it. You know, you need good clothing as well. So hopefully you guys are grabbing that stuff. We're going to talk about weather protection here in a second. Fire building, you know, the rescue groups, the members all typically have some pretty decent fire building stuff. We do not carry that stuff. I don't feel that we should have to pile that in there. The personal protection, some sunscreen, summertime. So do you guys carry that in your kit? Some sunscreen, some bug protection, and some dark glasses?
You
Consider-
talking?
Definitely, I'm hoping you guys have a kit that you bring into the station every shift. Consider putting the sunscreen that you like in there, even some bug repellent for the summertime. If you're heading into the Gore range, you're going to need it. And just be able to grab that real quick and slather some onto your face before you hit the trail. And then as far as weather protection, so extra clothing, what's some extra clothing that you have that goes on every rescue, Tim?
So I keep a big pair of gloves and then a lightweight pair of gloves. And that way, because when you're going around and doing stuff, it's nice to have that little thing, because I've ended up touching the metal and getting a little freezer blister off of there from the litter sometimes. A puffy jacket, and then extra socks, and just stuff that I would keep to keep warm. Big puffy's the key.
Big puffies and a neck gaiter is the key for me. Sorry, I'm talking so much, I'm getting frog. I got a big set of gloves and a neck gaiter, thick neck gaiter, a thin neck gaiter, and hat. The thing with search and rescue is you kind of bust your butt for an hour or two getting in there, and then it's a slow drag coming out, or you pause for a while at the patient, and you can get cold real quickly. So having those extra layers is a must that I'm hoping you guys are coming prepared with.
The other thing is the hot hands. I put those in my pockets on the way in. I can give those to the patient if they need to keep their hands warm, or I can put them on my hands too. When you get up,
I like the big mittens, so I can take them off and get them a little cold. It's okay, and I'll put them back in the mittens and they warm up. I was going to say, we do have in that top compartment some hot hands already. I don't have the big ones that you're talking about. I just got the standard, ski area type things, which make a difference. I know if you put them in your boots, if you got cold feet, I discovered those skiing this last year. I took some of my kids' hot hands or hot boots things, and it made an incredible difference. It was amazing. All those years on ski patrol, I never used them. Froze my feet off every day. All right, then the winter add-ons, the avalanche beacon, probe, shovel with a metal blade. So we've purchased all of those. If you have your own and you're comfortable with your own beacon, by all means, you can use your own beacon. But I felt like I had to order one that I know that everybody on the team does not have one. And it's a kind of a requirement going into the backcountry, even if it's not on steep terrain. You never know what little pockets you're going to come across, or who knows what you're going to come across. A beacon's required pretty much from here until there's no snow on the ground. Questions about that stuff? So a lot of this is on you guys. It's your own kind of cost. I get it. If you don't have something that you need, let me know. One of the reasons you're on this team is because you're backcountry users. So you should have the majority of it already without having to go out and purchase it and busting your bank. And if it gets damaged in the backcountry, let us know. At that point, we can help you out with fixing it or purchasing some new stuff. All right, so another competency that we're required to have is operations of snowmobiles and winter patient transport. So this is the Orion, the one on the left that's silver, is just kind of a patient mover. The one on the right is the one we have, but we have the big plastic cover and then the spot in the back for us to pull. But it's got 4 sleds instead of just the one in the back there, or the 2 in the back that the summer operations has. Same thing, you might think that it's a little smoother travel in the But it's the acceleration and deceleration of the snowmobile, I think, is more exaggerated than the ATV. And you really need to talk to your driver if they're giving you a ride that is making you get bucked back and forth quite a bit. So we got Cascade toboggans. I know you're all familiar with. The big difference with Cascade toboggans in the backcountry versus the ski area, it's a big difference. You guys, I know you've skied in the backcountry. It's much different than skiing in the ski area, especially moving in the backcountry. So don't take these for granted in the backcountry. They're harder to ski. They should have two people on them with a rope, tail roper. We have quite a few ski patrollers on the team that are solid with these, but a lot of them, most of them are coming out on the Orion. But if you get further in the trees and you're skiing, we could be using this or this Akia. So they've got a carbon fiber Akia that would probably be going in. These things are pretty slick. Yeah, I know you guys are familiar with them. The key, and this is a lessons learned, guys, is these are one person only vehicles. We should not be piling in providers on top of the patient in order to get compressions or airway management done. We're going to talk about that here in a bit. Like I said, skiing in the backcountry trails that our snowmobiles are on are much, much different than the ski areas. We do use the littered wheels in the summer when you got mixed conditions or real packed out stuff. This one's a little better for the mixed conditions.
One, can you go back one, Jim? So that one is the one we're going to use, and it's got handles on the front and back that are locked in, and it's a snow bike tire now, and it's got the mountain bike disc brake on it. Works really well, and that's the one that we're going to use most of the time in the summer. In the wintertime, we're the Akia, probably 100%.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. I dig that the brake that it has too. I haven't worked a shock into it yet. I'm waiting for the shock to come out. All right, another competency regime is familiarity with the high and low angle operations. I'm not going to go deep into that as a whole training. They do use the MPDs as a double, what am I thinking of? A belay and a main. So something we're working towards at Red, White, and Blue, and something SFE's starting to do. But rappel safety is the big thing. Who's comfortable rappelling? Tim, I know you're a rappelling dude. Jeff and Tony, what's your experience rappelling?
I mean, pretty basic, but I feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, same, Jim. I went through the tech rescue and I've rappelled a handful of times and comfortable with it.
Cool. Did you guys use an auto block when you did rappelling?
Yeah, I recall that being used on patrol with some capacity, as well as a Moonter.
Well, so the Moonter is a belay device or a belay knot, right? Just like here's a picture here of an ATC being used for belaying with a double rope configuration, right? But the auto block is that green rope down at the bottom that allows you to go hands free, and the auto block is going to stop you. Tony, have you used this at all?
No, I have not.
Okay. So that's kind of my take home here is the days of getting on a rappel and zipping down with your right hand behind you and you're kind of flying down without any, what happens if you let go with your right hand? You're going to go to the bottom, right? In a rescue world, we try to double up our safety factors. And the climbers are doing it now too. I went up and did a hike with the Rangers in Longs Peak. We did some rappelling. These guys are bomber climbers, and they all used auto blocks. So this is just a quick way to tie. Sorry, I'll start over. Your ATC first cannot be right at your harness. It has to be elevated a slight distance. You can see here they've just used a runner with a knot in the middle, and then they've girth hitched it to the harness, and it's clipped in up there at the anchor. Okay, so now they're putting their ATC in halfway, running the rope through it, and then tying their auto block to it. And it's just going around the rope downwards, looks like 3-4 times, and then clipping back in to its to the belay loop. And now your hand, as you go down, you still have control of the rope, but if you were to let go, the auto block is going to stop the rope from going to the ATC. It's going to cause that enough friction, right? So you can see in the very far right, fiction number 5, he's actually controlling that auto block with his hand to keep it from going up. And you can see why you need that extension to the ATC. Otherwise, the auto block would be going straight into the ATC, and then that would jam up and you'd be screwed, right? So next time you're rappelling or thinking about it, incorporate an auto block. You don't have to use that knot. You can use just a pressix to grab that rope as well. And you can put a pressix around a double rope too. Questions or comments about that? All right, moving on. And then the other thing about rappelling is what goes down must know how to come up. Okay, so there is a example of a search and rescue group that got flown in. They ended up rappelling down to their patient. Patient got flown off the mountain, and then they had no way to get up off the cliff. You can definitely have to go up if there's some reason there's a knot in your rope that you can't get untied, or there's a knot in a rope that's covering up a core shot or something like that. Or if you get down to the bottom and your rope isn't touching the bottom, you're kind of hosed. So you got to figure out how to get back up. All right. So there's lots of ways to do it. I carry some Purcell pressix with me at all times. These are great deals. I know you guys are familiar with them. They're, I know Cuff has a couple underneath the stairs there. They're a great way to tie your patient in. You can girth hitch one in around the litter and then adjust it around the sit harness that the patient's in so that they're not sliding back and forth inside the litter. They're a great tool to have with you on search and rescues. And we have a couple in the pack right now. But if you're belaying, you should be grabbing those too so you can climb up the rope. Comments on that, Tim, or suggestions?
All good.
All good. All right. Do we need a break? Been going for about an hour. How are we feeling?
Chief,
I like Tony's.
Chief, you got a good copy?
Yeah, go ahead, Fraj.
I'm going to transition. We're back in the bay, so I'm going to get off my phone and transition to a computer.
Okay, should we take a 5-minute break, or you want to?
You know, your call. That's should take 5 or less on my side.
All right, everybody take a 5-minute potty break. We'll come back and we'll move on to avalanche rescue and triage. We're
Sounds
almost
good.
done.
Thanks.
Hey, Tony, has Tanya got my retirement account set up yet?
Oh, she ain't no financial planner.
Well, I thought, every little percentage of her sales was going to me.
Oh, you guys didn't get that set up between the two of you?
No.
Oh shit. You're gonna
She's selling a lot?
you're gonna have to get in touch with her about that.
How's she doing? She's selling a lot?
Yeah, it's been crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Nice.
Definitely unexpected, but here we are.
Yep.
How's that boat? Is it good to go? Ready to go?
I think so. I got a few more things to put on it, and then I got to pull probably when I get down there the next time and do a bottom paint on it, but that's about it.
All part of the ownership process, right?
Yep. George left yesterday or 2 days ago, and he's on a month-long sailing trip.
Oh, nice. Where's he headed?
They're heading out in the Gulf of Mexico and then up the intercoastal waterway for about a month.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's about time you got that boat out of the lake.
Yep.
I saw him over the summer. He's like, I haven't even got my boat out on the Gulf yet. It's been cruising around in a lake. It's attached to the Gulf.
I'm lucky because the ocean is only 5 miles out to me.
Prodigy, you there? Not yet.
How's everybody's kids doing with the schooling stuff now?
I mean, getting used to it. Back to all online now, so it is what it is,
Yep.
We'll get through it.
I would not be a good home teacher type thing. Like, okay, let's go ski.
Right? I've seemed to notice that all the teachers are starting to get proficient at it. It was definitely awkward at first, but now they seem to be dialing in a little bit more.
Yeah, I know my wife. She's a teacher, and she's probably working twice as hard right now, but she's getting it dialed in and finding a groove.
Is she at Silverthorne Elementary?
She's now at Summit Cove.
So cool. Okay. Are they still doing the dual language thing at Summit Cove?
No, they're doing that at Dillon Valley. That's where my kids go to school.
Oh, okay. I knew it was one of them over there.
Yeah, the dual language is awesome. Listening to my kids speaking Spanish is pretty cool. Prodigy says he'll be here soon. He's trying to figure out the laptop. Tim, your boat's in San Diego, is that right?
Yep. Right downtown. Half-mile walk from the airport.
Half mile?
Yeah.
Wow. Are you going down there full time and selling your house up here?
No, we've had just a little change in plans as we both love living up here. So we're going to go for a month or two at a time and then come home and spend a month or two and kind of back and forth.
Right.
We might look for a different place to live if we need to sell the house and get the equity because I can't believe how much real estate's gone, skyrocketing.
Yeah, that's where we're at when the kids go to school or move out or whatever happens at 18 or 19, is when we're ready to retire, we need the equity out of this house. So going to have to move, whether it's downsizing in the county, but I've lived here 25 years right now. I'll be 35 by the time I'm out of here. I think I'm ready to go somewhere else.
Yeah, we're looking up by Walden, somewhere up in there. Just a little quieter and out with some land.
Yeah.
We're great at home, but once we get into the town, it's just like too much.
Yeah, it's busy, isn't it? We're just a little suburb of Denver right now.
Yep.
You on there, Faraj? I'm sharing my screen so I can't see you guys. See Tony, he's pretty chillaxing back there.
This room looks pretty bare in there. You guys don't have pictures on the walls or anything? Where are you at, Tony?
I'm at 7s.
Oh. You need pictures on the wall.
It's a minimalist station. There's we like to keep it simple.
I thought that was a retirement home. Have crochet going on and things like that going on in that station.
That's downstairs.
Oh.
The activities room is downstairs.
Who's your boss out there now?
Goose.
I'm sorry.
Hey.
I heard Bad Hunter.
Yeah, it's me, Goose, and Slaughter.
It's a good crew.
Yeah, we like it. That must have been a New England 5 minutes for Faraji.
All right. He's going to be logging back in on his phone here in a second, I imagine. We're almost done. We just got one of the bigger subjects in avalanche stuff. But hopefully you guys are finding this a good recap of the program.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Thanks for hosting this, Jim. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's not as good as I was hoping.
Sorry, I'm supposed to call you Chief now, aren't I?
It's something to get used to for sure. Your friends calling you Chief.
Where's Josh? Is he working today?
I don't know what's going on with Josh. Keith texted me and said, hey, he can't make it. Can you record it? So I'm not sure what's
How
going
many
on.
medics do you got now, Jim?
We have 3 on A shift and 2 on the other shifts. There's Frajay.
Hey.
You back on your phone?
Yeah, I'm back on my phone. That's all right. Sorry about that.
No worries. Sorry that we were having tech problems. All right, we'll jump right back into it. So really, this is our last subject, but it's a pretty big one. And it's probably the most important one for us heading into our wintertime season, right? Is avalanche rescue and triage. So avalanche rescue is I would describe it in 2 words as a shit show when there's somebody really buried. I don't know. How would you guys describe it in 1 or 2 words?
I'd say low frequency, high acuity.
Good. I like that. So why do we need to know about avalanche rescue in Colorado? So this is some stats off the CIAC. from 1950 to 2016, you can clearly see Colorado has the most avalanches in the nation.
Yeah, the shittiest snowpack.
The shittiest snowpack. That's correct. We got cold, not too deep, wind blown, snow that just slides right out from underneath it all winter long, right? I didn't include the slide, but the busiest month. Who can think of the busiest month for avalanches in Colorado?
I'm going to say April.
All right. Any other bets out there?
My guess would be March.
So it's earlier. January, February was when they were showing most of the fatalities are. And I don't know. My thought is that that's the early snow that happened. You know, snow that's kind of happened last month or even this month. That sat around for a while and just got crappy, and then it's got a bunch of layers on top, and now it starts sliding. Our pack is supposed to get a little better for us as we move through the season, and then definitely when it becomes warmer. Another reason why we need to know about avalanches is, so if we're the busiest state, we're the second busiest county as far as fatalities go for avalanches. So this is right up our alley. We need to be aware of avalanches. We should definitely be prepared to respond in the backcountry for avalanches. Just do this quick slide in for self-rescue to make sure we all remember some basic things we do if we are caught in an avalanche. The whole objective is to move to the side. You're not going to be able to get out in front of it unless you have a superpowered snowmobile. So move to the sides if you can. Grab something sturdy, they're saying. So grab onto a tree if you can without smashing yourself on that. Swim. So if we've got snowshoes or skis on, you got to kick those off so you can stay on the surface. If you keep your skis on, they're going to drag you down. So try to kick those off as best you can. Hold one arm up is what they're suggesting so that your buddies can see you. That kind of makes it hard to do. Number 5 is create room to breathe. As you're coming to as you're slowing down, make sure you got your hands out in front of you and you're creating that air pocket. Trying to make sure you've got plenty of air there and stay calm, they say. I've only been caught in one avalanche. It was a small one on the front side at Peak 8. Stupid mistake on my part, but I tell you, it happens really fast and you can't think very much when it's going on. You're really just kind of trying to stay on your feet. It's a crazy experience with the whole mountain moving, and you're moving as well. So having some thoughts in your head before you get to that point is always good. I sent out a video for our Tracker 3. Hopefully you guys can watch that. One of the cool functions on it is the auto revert. It was only a little bit more to buy that Tracker 3, and it's got a motion activated auto revert. So just in case we're on a scene and we've turned our beacon on to search and we somehow get buried and we're still for a minute, then it's going to auto revert back to send. The key with that is you got to turn it on before at the very beginning. It doesn't do it automatically. The reason it doesn't do it automatically is it wants you to be very aware of that setting. Oftentimes when rescuers get on scenes, they continue to be in the send function, which throws off this people searching and can make a scene much more difficult when all the rescuers show up and send and you got people trying to search for people with beacons. So be aware of that. I originally thought I'd show this video, but this training is going a little longer than I was thinking. And I want you guys to be able to hopefully watch that on your own. Sound good? We also have a new probe. It's a cool probe. Make sure you look at it and test extending it. So here's a lucky guy that's getting dug out of the snow. He's got a smile on his face. He's one of the lucky ones, right? Um, Tell me what are the reasons, or how do people die? What's the mechanisms of death in an avalanche?
Trauma.
Trauma. Okay, good.
And then it seems like well, obviously if it's not trauma, it's suffocation, but I think trauma is the big one.
Good. Asphyxiation is actually the most common. I'll show you some stats here. And our last one is hypothermia. So in some rare cases, people can have enough air down there that they get hypothermic, and they die that way. So I did set up a little statistics site here instead of cutting them all back over. So we can see our avalanche fatalities are going up over time. We've had a little bit of dip in the last couple of years. What I want to show you on this, I already showed you that one and that one. These are the types of tours. So we have backcountry tours. I think we call those some skiers, right? Backcountry skiers, snowmobilers, and climbers are our top three. Side country riders, I have dug out a side country rider at A Basin before. So A Basin, Breckenridge, Copper, they all have side country. Keystone, I dug out a side country. I got lost and went off the backside and died in an avalanche. Not much else to know there. So here's the month, avalanche fatalities by month. January being the busiest month. So those are some of our statistics. So 90% of our avalanche incidents, the victim or someone in the group triggered the avalanche, right? So it's not some weird thing. These people are up skiing steeper terrain that is suspect for avalanche. And how do people die when they're buried? The good news is that even dense avalanche debris has 60 to 70% air. But how do people die, right? They get a carbon dioxide buildup in the snow around them, and they die of carbon dioxide poisoning or asphyxiation because it's pushing all the oxygen out, or the oxygen is depleted because you've inhaled it. So the stats show that 93% of avalanche victims can be recovered alive if they are dug out within 15 minutes. But then they drop drastically after that. So after 45 minutes, only 20 to 30% are still alive, and after 2 hours, almost no one is alive. And here's a graph showing that. So ski patrol really hits this hard, right? Buddy rescuing is what's going to save a ski patroller's life if they get buried in an avalanche. The guys that are with them, guys or girls that are with them, are the ones that are going to save them. We can't be waiting for search and rescue to come in. As a search and rescue paramedic that's coming in, how soon do you think we're getting to these patients?
Depending on the utilization of flights, I've been to an avalanche scene 40 minutes post-avalanche.
And that's getting flown in?
That's correct, with the whole rapid avalanche deployment system in place, and everything was successful, but it was still 40 minutes post-avalanche.
Yeah. So that's pretty quick for a search and rescue group. I was as a ski patroller that went in. So as a search and rescue group, we're slightly slower. We have got some people that are part of that team, but we're slightly slower. We don't have all the gear on, the skis outside the door like ski patrollers do. So here's a study that was done of 204 avalanche fatalities. They did an autopsy on them, and you'll see that, well, they did, some got autopsies, some got external examinations. Asphyxiation was by far the biggest one that killed folks. So they're surviving the initial burial, but they're having carbon monoxide build up around them, and they die that way. Trauma got 20, those percentages, I imagine 24%. And then hypothermia, only a couple people survived to the point of hypothermia and then died, which is a sad thing. We'll make it that long. But keep those numbers in mind as we move through our protocol here, okay? So two quick things about these pictures on the right. This guy on the right, or on the top, is super lucky. Looks like he's been dug out straight to his face, which is pretty rare. All right, that was not a great snow digging effort there. Maybe he had his, looks like his feet are up above him. Maybe they found a pole or something. But we should be doing it like the one on the bottom there. You probe and then you pull the snow out to the side the way it's going there. Because once you get to the victim, this guy's lucky he was face up. If he's face down, it's going to take so much work to get around to him versus doing the excavation way here on the bottom. It takes a lot of people, but that's the way to do it. And that's how you're going to get somebody out when you find them upside down, sideways. But we'll pay more attention here to the left at our protocol. So this is right out of the St. Anthony's Avalanche Rescue Guidelines. These guys came out, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. They've been tweaked here and there. This is the latest. But it takes into account the ways that folks die when they're in an avalanche. All right. So at the top, obviously scene safety is the biggest one. And we need to find the victim. That's a whole nother thing that hopefully the rescue group's helping you with. But as we get to the body, it's important that you're not standing back, that you're getting right in there to help evaluate the patient. And you're looking for fatal injuries. What type of fatal injuries you think you're going to be able to see on a victim that's coming out from an avalanche?
The obvious one is trauma that's not suitable with life.
Yeah, but it's pretty hard to identify that, right? We can identify that with a car accident kind of readily with all the clothes that they're wearing or not wearing, and the snowpack isn't packed around them. But identifying, I would say it's challenging to figure out a fatal injury from a snowpack injury. And they've got to be wrapped on a tree. I would say that's a challenge, and we shouldn't get hung around the axle on that one. The whole body frozen. Now that's one thing we can figure out. What's one thing that we can test real quick to see if the whole body's frozen? What's the first thing you're opening as you get to somebody's face?
Airway.
Yeah. So if you open up their mouth and their jaw's frozen, could you assume that their whole body's frozen at that point too?
Yep.
Yeah. So opening up their mouth is the first thing we're going to look for to see if their whole body's frozen, if you can get in there. And then we need to do that anyway, right, for their ice and the airway. So that's the importance of you getting up front there. It's going to be hard. There's going to be 3, 4, 5 people all gathered in that little hole. But make sure you establish yourself and make sure you're in there too to identify their airway. Okay. So yes to any of those things, we can not worry about doing CPR on them, right? But all of those things, we're going to move down to our, well, what can we assume they died of? Either they've been there forever, right? Or they died of trauma. If they have one of those 3 things, would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. I was just going to mention a challenge that I witnessed firsthand too is digging somebody out, and they had a full face helmet on, so that was another challenge to deal with that.
Oh yeah.
Which gave us hope that he possibly had an airway in there, but that was not the case.
A pack full of snow. With a pack full of snow. Jeff?
No, I think it was actually that there was a visor or goggles intact, but it turned out to be a trauma fatality, but we didn't have any clear indication of that.
Right. So now we go on to our next one down is the duration of the burial is less than 60 minutes. What are they trying to establish there if it's less than 60 minutes? So they're trying to establish, and you guys tell me if you think something different, whether this is a hypothermic patient or not, right? So basically they're saying that if it's less than 60 minutes, they haven't had the time to become hypothermic. So we are considering this now, if they don't have vital signs, that this is, they've suffocated, right? So if it's less than 60 or their core temperature, we don't have a good way of measuring core temperature out in the backcountry. There's just simply not a good way to keep the things, our devices warm enough to work out there. So we're going off that duration only. So if it's less than 60 minutes, we dig them out. We're there in less than 60. We're going to do CPR on them because we're assuming that they've asphyxiated at some point, and hopefully that was recently versus a long time ago. And if they just recently succumbed to asphyxiation, can't say that word that well, that you can potentially revive them. So that's an important thing to establish as you arrive. When did this happen? And if it's less than an hour, like Fraj, if you got there in 40 minutes and you were able to get that patient out, unless he's frozen or completely full of ice in the airway, we're going to be working him for 20 minutes to see if we can get some blood moving, some oxygen moving, and revive that patient, right? So it's probably greater than 60 minutes though. So we're going to move on. And so what are they thinking now with a gentle extrication? What are we thinking is this patient's problem?
Well, with hypothermia, the heart's fragile and will go into VFib.
Yeah. So they're working their way through the 3 ways that folks die in an avalanche, right? So now we're moving past 60 minutes and we're moving into they're possibly hypothermic. It could be asphyxiation. We don't know when their air pocket finally had too much CO in it. So we don't know that, but if it's greater than 60 minutes, we're assuming and they've survived this long, we're assuming that they're into the hypothermic phase. And we got to do gentle extrication. I'd argue not to worry too much about that. And you guys are medical professionals too. You can tell me I'm wrong. But if they don't have vitals and they're got a heart rate of, 20, and you pull them out and they go into VFib, your treatment's going to be the same if their heart rate was VFib or if it was a heart rate of 20. You're still going to go and give them CPR, right? You guys agree with that? So we got the gentle extrication. Is the patient responsive? Great. If not, we're going to check for vital signs. So how are we checking for vital signs? What can we bring into the backcountry with us to help us in this function?
And you have the Philly AED.
Nice. So the AED Pro, is that what they call it?
I think that's what it's called. Don't ask me. I don't know.
Come on.
It's the really.
Rescue group has an AED Pro. to put on these patients. You just putting the pads on, and it will show you a rhythm. It's a lead 2. That's the only one you get, but that's all you need to establish their rhythm, right? Unless it's flatline, you can't change leads, but that's pretty darn rare when they're isothermic like that. So put the pads on them to establish bradycardia, VFib, VTAC, or if they're not breathing, palping them as well. You can touch them and look for a carotid artery, carotid pulse, and whatnot. But anyway, we're going to move on to the airway obstructed. So now we can give them a breath with a BVM, hopefully. If it is obstructed, we're assuming that they've died of asphyxiation long ago. And we do not need to start CPR. But if it's not, we're going to assume that they were breathing for a little bit and that hopefully they're in the hypothermic phase right now, right? So we'll start CPR and we got to start moving. We can't pronounce them if they've been under the snow for more than an hour and they're not frozen and they've got a clear airway. We can't really pronounce them. And it's kind of a weird thing because very few people, I've showed you the stat there earlier, actually die of hypothermia. But they're asking us to treat them all like that and to bring them and rewarm them and bring them to the hospital. And that's hard for us in the backcountry. The Orion, that's the big sled, isn't going to get there typically. Hopefully the helicopter can get there, but you might have to ski them out depending on the slope. If you had to be dropped off somewhere else, so then ski down into them. But we are going to move them either to the hospital or till we get a potassium. So how do we get a potassium on these patients?
Lights.
Yeah, Fight for Life is the only, they can pull a potassium on them. Even talking to Kevin Keble, that can be a little tricky in the helicopter when it's cold. That's why we don't carry our own devices that read them. But flights can pull potassium and see where they're at and whether we should be continuing CPR or not. So get them to the helicopter and pull potassium. Questions about this protocol guideline for avalanche resuscitation?
So on the continuous CPR, one of my things that I'm going to harp on is that if you don't have the auto pulse, and how many auto pulses do you have over on your side, Jim?
Just one. So we have 2 in the county, 1 at EMS 10 and 1 on Battalion 6.
Okay. Unless you have that, trying to do CPR in a litter going down anything is ineffective. So I'm questioning, unless you have that auto pulse, and usually it's going to be, if we're going in by ground, it's going to be about 3rd or 4th team in. So don't expect it right away, and you're going to be doing CPR for a while on scene. But trying to do CPR on the way out, it's just not conducive with. It's unsafe.
Yeah, that's a big part of my next slide here. Thanks for bringing that up, Tim. So I'm sure you guys are aware, we tried to give CPR to a hypothermic patient in the backcountry. We loaded up with the patient and 2 rescuers, and due to the backcountry's, I don't know what you'd call it, it's variable terrain, we were ejected off of that toboggan. The firefighter that was with me doing compressions, you imagine how it was working. He was kneeling over the patient from between her legs, and I was at the head on a single toboggan. Had bad injuries that took him out of working for quite a while. I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but we can't relive that. We can't get back into, we can't put multiple people into those toboggans that are made for a single patient with the variable terrain. I know we've done it as ski patrollers, and that's what I was thinking on this particular call. I've done this before as a ski patroller, but the variable terrain of the backcountry just does not allow that. And in this particular patient that we're trying to work, we've already established that we're trying to revive a hypothermic patient. And the hypothermic patients that survive are only a small percentage of patients. So there's no reason that we should be risking our life to save these folks with transporting them and piling into it or toboggan. So please don't do that. Don't make the same mistake. Use that auto pulse to do compressions on the way out, so you don't have to be in the toboggan. All right. Wait for the auto pulse to get there. Rescuer safety is a reason not to do CPR. If you're in a place where, you know what, it's rescuer safety is an issue, I can't get this patient to the helicopter. They've been under for a while where I believe they died of hypothermia, but the percentages are so low, then you just won't work them. But hopefully we brought this auto pulse with us, right? That's why we're doing this training, to help identify the need for that auto pulse. If we can bring it in instead of the third or fourth group and the first or second group, that'd be fantastic.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah.
going back to the CPR thing, if you haven't seen the new ICAR study that's out by Manuel, of course, and a couple of doctor out of Utah and a doctor out of Germany, I think Germany or Austria, is they're actually recommending instead of 20 minutes, just 6 minutes of CPR. But we won't go to that standard probably another couple of years.
And that's for a less than an hour person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then if you guys
gonna...
are accrediting thing for rescue for Europe.
But Europe's been the one that's been transporting these patients, right? They've actually revived some hypothermic patients that have been buried for more than an hour.
Yeah. And that's what our protocol is based on, the old ICAR. The new one is going to go 6 minutes, I think.
Okay. Good to know.
But not anytime soon.
But so we're going to be trying to transport these folks if they've been in under for more than an hour and we can't identify any airway problems or trauma problems. But we're only going to do it with rescuer safety in mind. And we're going to do it with this auto pulse, hopefully. The drawbacks to the auto pulse is that it's got to be against bare skin, right? So we have hooked this up in the past inside of the sleeping bag that the rescue group has. So we hook the patient onto it, bare skin, put the patient into the sleeping bag and close it up around him. We have done that before. Make sure it's not binding inside of it. But we haven't done our live patient. We only did it in training. And then there are air vents at the bottom. So just be aware of that. If it starts to overheat, it's because the air vents in the bottom aren't getting any air. But questions, comments about using the auto pulse in the backcountry? Cool. So I do have permission to use the auto vent as well. So this is another thing we need a rescuer in there, right? To give give breaths. We practiced this with Dr. Brockmeyer 2 years ago. We have the new protocol that she recently gave the thumbs up for, and we're going to put it into the Summit County IFT protocols. It's a weird place for it, but it's the only place that we can have a set of protocols that are Summit County specific. But it allows us to use the auto vent in the backcountry. So you guys, SFE is going to lend red, white, and blue one. They have 3 or 4 that they've kept around for years. It's an interesting story that the Sean Caffrey held on to all their vents for a pandemic like 15 years ago. Fortunately, we haven't had to use these on patients for this pandemic, but we do have extras in the county. SFE is letting us use theirs for the winter until we consider buying one next year. Super simple. All you got to do is put the breaths in it. The adult or child is basically all about inspiration time, and then the tidal volume that's in there. That's a whole nother training that we can look at doing, or you guys can walk yourself through once we get that vent over to Station 6. Cool. So the last thing is snow travel and evac safety. Just a quick reminder, how we doing our snow travel, and I'd love to get you guys' input. I used to love to slap my boots on, my skins on, and ski in with the group they're faster. My boots are usually pretty cold though, because they're in the car, versus, my boots that I'm wearing. My ski boots are usually pretty cold when I put them on, but they warm up after a bit. Anyway, my issue has been once I get to the patient, it's pretty hard to ski around a patient with, it's been much easier to bring patients out with snowshoes, for myself. And I can be nearly as fast as the skiers with a set of snowshoes. But I want to hear how you guys plan on moving around the backcountry this winter.
I personally like skis, Chief. It's what I'm familiar with, and especially for the trip out. I like sliding downhill. I feel like it's a lot more efficient, and I was able to maintain close proximity to the patient, yet stay out of the way of the rescuers and the Akia. And one particular time, I would actually set out a little ahead and break a trail for the Akia, and it worked well for me, and it's what I'm used to. So that's kind of my mindset.
Cool.
Yeah, skis
Yeah.
for me as well.
Like skis.
Just be comfortable on whatever you're going in on and be able to work in them.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I've just found being once you're around the patient and and it's moving, I've had issues with skis, but really haven't been in a lot of them where we've had to ski somebody out. It's usually we transition, we drag them to the Orion and then transition to the Orion. And that hasn't been downhill for me, but imagine if you're getting flown in, certainly skis are a better option for getting out of that country. So thanks, Tim, for that. Definitely, these are your own belongings. You should be comfortable in, and we're not trying to force it or go into that country with something you've never used before. Cool. And that's all I had written down. What do you guys think? Is this worthwhile training? Any suggestions for change for when I do it with B and C shift?
Well, it's always a worthwhile training. It, just gets you thinking again, gets your mind set. Yeah, always valuable.
Yeah, agreed, Chief. I think it was valuable. We covered a lot. I could stand to do more specific training if I'm the guy that's going to set up rappel. It's not something I do all that often, but I appreciate the topics coming up, and it gets my wheels turning.
Cool. I suggest whenever we're at the tower doing high angle training as a search and rescue paramedic, volunteering to do a quick rappel off that tower and try that auto block. Which brings me to the point to make sure you're comfortable with anything you do in the rescue scenario. You can always tell the IC, this rappel is not in my wheelhouse. I'll meet you at the bottom, or I'll wait for you to bring the patient up to me. There's nothing you should be doing in the backcountry that you're uncomfortable with. Make sure you're communicating that to the IC.
Chief, I got a question.
Yeah.
You guys have the Emma on your pack?
The what?
Yeah, 2 monitor.
No.
We do have that on the SFE side.
Yeah. So you guys got the little, and Breck Ski Patrol has it. So I think you guys know what we're talking about, the little Intel CO2 thing that goes on the top of an ET tube. It's just a little, I don't know, quick Intel CO2. The thing costs a couple grand for that little thing.
Yeah.
I've been suggesting that we should be bringing the X Series monitor in. I have a pack for it. If you guys seen it, there's a pack for it. It's not very heavy if that's the only thing going in. Obviously, mechanized travel is the best place for that thing, but and being careful with it. It's a very expensive piece of equipment. I'm working towards but purchasing something next year that will allow us to monitor somebody's airway a little better than that Emma. If that's what we comes down to, that'd be fine, but I'm looking for something a little better. If anybody has any suggestions or come across anything, let me know.
I guess I'd be curious. We're talking about the auto pulse and monitors and such, and they're fine for patrol for the short time they're outside. But my concern would be a prolonged rescue in frigid temperatures, how these batteries would respond.
Yeah.
Usually enough.
What's that, Tim? We've trained with the auto pulse in the when it was cold, next to at the bay at the barn there one day. I don't know that we ran a whole battery, but I asked the rep about it, and definitely it will be an issue. You're right. And we'll make some choices at that point, right, when it stops working. All right, everybody, anything comes to mind, something I should cover with the next couple shifts, or anything that you want to share with your crews, with this group, send it out in an email. But I appreciate your time today.
I got one more thing, if I can, Chief.
Yeah, go for it.
You guys, when you're going out there, is make sure that you involve all the rescuers. So if you do it like the fire scene is, you put the person that's new to IVs or anything, putting them in there and doing all that stuff, make sure you include them, and don't try to do everything yourself, and keep those guys involved. They really appreciate that. Thing is, on A shift, for me to go out, you guys are going to be coming to the north side probably a lot, because for me to go out, it's going to take the engine out of service. So I don't plan on going out a lot on A shift anymore. But I appreciate the help. And thanks for doing this today.
Yeah, Tim, thank you. All right, guys, enjoy your Sunday. Catch you later.
Bye, guys.
Hey, thanks, Chief. Hey, Chief, quick question.
Yeah.
Training, will we get any CE or credit? Do we need to input any of this?
That's a great reminder. Thanks. I will put an ER together with everybody's name on it.
Cool. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Good day.